Welcome back to Hard Truths with Hardy, where you always get reality and not the sugar-coated version, because as we all know, sugar-coated is not my style. We're going to talk about new construction versus resale homes today. I am a huge advocate for new construction. I think it's something a lot of people don't put time and effort as far as agents go about learning about the new construction market, knowing what's available, what builders have in inventory, what style of homes they buy. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But first, let's think about our highs and lows this week. I know for me, it feels like it's been forever since I taped an episode, but it really hasn't been that long, maybe a couple weeks. Just feels like a while for me because I'm used to doing it pretty regularly. So it's nice to get back and feel like I'm talking with all of you. This week's been pretty good so far. I like in this role as a real estate agent that you come across different scenarios and different kinds of clients all the time. For me, that keeps it kind of fresh and new so that I don't get bored. There's always some kind of different circumstance. I've got a listing coming up probably closer to the end of July or maybe 1st of August where it's been a rental home. My client lives out of state, so she needs somebody to help her head up that project to get the home ready to list. I have no idea what I'm walking into, but we'll probably have to paint and do some landscaping, maybe change out some flooring. That's one of the services I offer, is to spearhead projects like that. I always have a plethora of resources for home projects because sometimes as an agent, we either have clients asking for those resources or we're helping a client get a home ready to list. And so we need vendors that can do that work and do it quickly and for a reasonable price. So think of your agent as a resource for you if you are doing home projects yourself. So let's get into new construction versus existing homes. I think there's a good case to be made for both. Sometimes when I talk to buyers, I don't think they realize that new construction is a good option for them or could be a good option. They don't even consider it. Or on the flip side, you get buyers, especially like young couples, that at times will think the only option for them is new construction. They want something brand new that nobody's ever lived in. Sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. There's a few things to think about when you're thinking about buying a house. And I always say think about your location before you start looking at houses, because location is the biggest factor in resale. And it's also the biggest factor in whether you're happy with your home or not. If you're not living in an area where you want to live, it doesn't matter how nice the home is, you'll probably never be happy with it. So I always start out when I meet a client with, what do you want to be near? Do you want to be near shopping, dining, medical, your work, your kids' schools, daycare, whatever is most important to you? That's what we need to think about and try to get you a home close to those things. And sometimes none of those things are important to people. Sometimes what's important to them is that they have privacy or they have land to have animals on. That's important information for me as a realtor to tailor your search to your specific needs. I'm always surprised at how many people tell me they need to live near a Costco, a Whole Foods, or Trader Joe's. For me, I would never have thought about that. That's not in my list of must-haves, but for a lot of people moving into Knoxville, they want to be near those things, and that's okay. They've identified what's important to them. One other factor that I think is very important is determining whether you want to live in a neighborhood that has an HOA. Pretty frequently, people will call and they're looking for a home, and they say they want new construction, but they don't want an HOA. Those two things don't really marry together unless you're building a custom home. If you're building a custom home, that is much more expensive than building what we call a spec or a tract home. Typically, when buyers are calling me, they're not looking to build a custom home, but in the outset, they may think that's what they want to do. But generally, when we start discussing price, the availability or lack thereof of land in our area, especially in West Knoxville or close to the things they want to be close to, they realize it's not super easy to build a custom home, and the price per square foot to build goes up drastically when you're buying a custom home. Why is new construction a good option for some people? Well, because you have builders like D.R. Horton, Smith Built, Turner Homes that build in bulk. And when you build in bulk, you can do it much cheaper than either a small builder or just your average Joe like me going out to build a home. I'm not building in bulk, so I don't get a bulk discount for buying the same flooring over and over to build 1,000 homes in the Knoxville area. Well, that's roughly what D.R. Horton is building here. And they're building the same plans over and over. They're using the same 4 or 5 colors of flooring over and over, the same 3 colors of countertops over and over. So they're able to buy all those products in bulk and get them at a discounted price. Well, when you and I go out to buy, I'm probably going to go in and start looking at granite, and I'm not going to want the cheapest thing that they have available. I'm going to want the one that I think is the prettiest. I'm only buying 1 slab of granite, so it's not going to be as cheap for me as somebody that's buying a ton of it at one time. That's a point that I have to make to a lot of people when we start talking about new construction. When you're not buying in bulk, your cost goes up dramatically. Not only does your cost go up, but your time goes up. A custom builder takes much longer on a home than a tract builder or a spec home builder. A spec home builder, they're building that same floor plan over and over and over again, or the same 20 or 30 plans. They usually don't have hundreds of plans that they're building. They've minimized the amount of plans they build, so they're doing it over and over again. And when you do it over and over again, your subcontractors are very familiar with it. And when they're familiar with the plan, they can do it faster in addition to doing it cheaper. With a custom home, your builder has likely never seen the floor plan that you're building. It takes them longer. They're waiting on you to choose your selections, what carpet you want, what exterior paint color you want. They're waiting on you to do all these things. And you think, oh, I can do all that in one day. You cannot. I promise you, even on just a semi-custom home, it takes a little while when you go even to a design center where they have all the selections on a wall for you to choose from. Even that will take several hours. When you get into a custom home, you're likely looking at several days spread out over weeks to make all these selections. And then you have change orders. Change orders become a problem too, because Sally Sue's building a house, and then she goes over and visits her friend Susie Q's home, and she really likes those arched doorways that Susie has, and she decides she'd like to have arched doorways in her home. Well, guess what? That's not what the plan called for. So that becomes a change order. And every time you make a change, either the plan has to be redrawn, different materials are required, they've got to recalculate how to build that. All those changes cost money. Even if it's something as simple as, well, I know I picked out this tier 1 granite, but I've decided I like the tier 2 granite much better. Well, guess what? There's a restocking fee to take that granite back if they'll let you return it. And even if you've not picked it up, there's still a restocking fee. And then the new granite's probably going to cost more, maybe a delay to get it. So there's a lot of different factors on why it can cost you more money to build a custom home. Then there's the availability of land that becomes an issue. I could go on and on about new construction. Builders often buy their land off market because they live in the area, or they have some person for the company whose whole job is to scout land and look for people off market that have farms that may be aging out and can't take care of it anymore, or maybe their farm is no longer profitable. So they're always resourcing, especially farmland, that would work for new construction. You hear people all the time saying, why are we giving up all this farmland for new construction? Well, you don't see a ton of people these days saying, I'm going to go out and be a farmer. That's just not common anymore. So a lot of farms are being sold to developers and to builders for new construction. And if you're in our area, we don't have a plethora of homes in the $300,000 to $400,000 or even $200,000 range. So you have spec builders that are trying to get land, build more affordably, and to do that, they have to build 4 homes per acre in order to make it work, because land is expensive here, again, because it's not plentiful in Knox County. It's harder to find, especially in West Knoxville. So there's all these factors that contribute to the building cost. I worked with a builder about 3 years ago, and he always said he wanted to pay $70,000 to $90,000 an acre. That's just not even realistic anymore because land is so hard to find in our county. And even when you get outside of Knox County, that gets a little cheaper, but it's still not cheap, so to speak. So all these are considerations. Normally new construction, 99.9% of new construction is in a subdivision. It's going to have an HOA. There are pluses and minuses to HOAs, and HOA, for the most part, is looking out for your property values. They want to make sure the neighborhood stays clean, that there's not cars on blocks, there's not, chickens out in the front yard of a 200 home subdivision, because that may not look appealing to everybody. So they've got some general rules in place. But like anywhere, sometimes you've got those Karens that look at the HOA board as they've probably never had a lot of power in their life, and so they go a little far on the overreach of the HOA and make people's lives miserable. So there's some good and some bad of an HOA. Certainly helping your property values stay high is the main focus of an HOA, to keep the neighborhood clean, tidy, yards mowed. But then you have people that don't want to be in an HOA neighborhood because they want some privacy. They can't have their trash can out in the driveway. They don't want somebody to tell them they can't have chickens. They want to be able to do whatever they want on their land. So there's a case to be made for both. But in all likelihood, if you want new construction, you won't get it without an HOA unless you build your own home on your own land. Having neighbors is not something that everybody wants. A lot of times people will call and they say, I want a new home and I want it on an acre. And I say, probably not going to happen here. That's so few and far between that you see a home on an acre. It's just not very common in our area. It may be common in other places outside of East Tennessee, but not very common here. And because land's not plentiful. You want a bigger yard. Many times I suggest to people, if they're wanting West Knoxville, to look at neighborhoods like West Hills, Seven Oaks, because those were built between the 50s and the 70s. Most of them have a half-acre yard. A lot of those homes have been renovated and remodeled, so they're updated and they're fresh and current. Not every home, but a lot of them have been. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a large yard and an updated home. And you're still in West Knoxville, where you're close to everything. But you won't find new construction with a large yard here in our area. It's just not happening. So if a large yard is important to you, you're probably going to have to look at an existing home. Probably the biggest factor in whether you want an existing home or a new construction one is your timeline. If you're looking for a home to move into in 30 days, in most cases, you're going to buy an existing home. Oddly enough, existing homes cost more per square foot than new construction in most cases. It's not something that you can say 100% of the time is the case, but if you're looking at spec homes, such as Smith-Built, D.R. Horton, Turner Homes, generally those are all going to be cheaper per square foot than your existing homes. Again, because they can build it cheaper than what you can get for an existing home. Existing homes you can move into quicker. You can usually close in 30 days and the former seller will be moved out. You can move right in. With new construction, you may have to wait for the home to be finished. We're at a time in the market right now where there's more new construction homes available that are move-in ready than what we've had in years. Back in 2020, 2021, we only had about 200 homes on the market in all of Knox County at any price point, new or existing. So as you can imagine, even new construction homes were extremely hard to find that were move-in ready. In most cases, you had to wait 6 months to a year to get a new home built. So factor in time as probably the biggest factor in getting a new home or not. If you find a move-in ready home, your bigger builders will have some of those, like Smith-Built and D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton has more than anybody does right now. If they have a move-in ready home, they want to get it sold and off their books. So there's definitely a lot better deals on a move-in ready home than you can get on one that's not built. They offer incentives to get those sold. If a home's finished, they want it sold. They don't want it to sit on the book. You'll see a lot of deals happen, especially at the end of the month, where the builder may pay closing costs or offer money toward a rate buy down so you can get the move-in ready home sold and off to the next person, and they're not sitting on inventory that's not working for them. I would definitely look at incentives right now because builders are sitting on so much inventory that they want to get sold. They're offering more incentives than we've seen in years. Closing costs and rate buy downs are probably the biggest two, but sometimes you can get other things thrown in. For example, faux wood blinds for the house. A lot of builders will do that. Or your refrigerator. Typically, new construction in our area does not come with a refrigerator. You can ask them to install a matching refrigerator that goes with the rest of the appliances they've installed, sometimes even a washer and dryer. So try to make those incentives work for you if a new construction home is what you want. Find somebody that's familiar with what builders are offering as incentives right now and what extra they can get for you to try to get you the best deal. Both new and resale homes offer pros and cons. I think timeline's probably the biggest factor as far as what you want to get or can get right now in your budget. So that's definitely a consideration I would make, but it's up to you to decide which one is best for you. And your agent should be able to give you some advice. One thing I have found with agents is that not everybody puts time and effort into knowing what's available on the market in new construction. That's something that I try to stay up on all the time. It's important to know what builders have available for inventory, know what their homes are selling for, and what I can get for my client as far as the best deal. If your agent's not doing that, you should probably look for a better agent like me. I'd be happy to help you find your way home. That's all we've got for today, and don't forget to check us out. You can find us on Spotify and on YouTube, Hard Truths with Hardy, and we'll see you next week.